Hi, this is James Melendez, James the Wine Guy, here to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is wine, of course, and then to also talk about wines from Rioja. Now, I was just there a few weeks ago, and it was a phenomenal visit. So glad to have foot on soil in this amazing mystical place. Now, the vistas here are just stunning. They go on for miles and miles and kilometers. So you see every outcropping is a village with a church, and these are very old villages. And then you see on the very northern end is the Sierra Cantabrias, these beautiful mountains, this mountain system that holds back a lot of the cool air from the Atlantic. Without them, you would not have these amazing grapes being grown here and these amazing wines being produced. So what you're finding here is, and we'll talk about the classification system. So the principal grapes, and Tempranillo is king. That is one of the biggest producing grapes in this region. You have the Graciano, the Masuelo, and the Garnacha. The white side, you do have a grape, which is the white Tempranillo, which is a Tempranillo Blanco, and then you have the Viura. So these grapes really constitute the majority of what is grown in this region. So there's a organizing body called the Consejo de Regulador. So what they do is they have this system of wines, and one is called the cosecha, or cosecha or joven, a younger wine. Then you have the Crianza and Reserva and the Gran Reserva. So we'll talk about what each of these mean to each bottling. So to begin with, I have this bottle. This is Bodegas Darien. Now this is a cosecha wine. So you'll see on the back here is the label that says and certifies that this is a cosecha. So a cosecha means that this is a wine that's a younger wine. It has to have at least 6 months of aging. Now it can have oak or no oak or some oak. So that's the significance of this bottle. So I did find this here in San Francisco for $5.99 a bottle. So it's a really, it's a bargain. And then the next wine is probably the biggest ranking category, which is a Crianza. So you see here, Crianza 2007 from the producer Marques de Caceres. And on the back is a different coloration of this stamp. I think it's really very cool to see this. I think it's really helpful. So a Crianza wine is a wine that's aged for at least 2 years, and one of these years is in oak. So go to the next bottling. This is a classification or a designation called a Reserva. So this is a Reserva 2005, current release. So turn this around, and then you'll see that this is designated as a Reserva wine, and that it is Cosecha 2005. So this is from a producer called Berronia. And then you go to the Gran Reservas, which the Gran Reserva, and oh, by the way, I didn't say that this has to be aged at least 3 years, and one of these is in oak. Going to the Gran Reserva this was by the producer Bodegas Muga, and this has to be aged for at least 24 months in oak and 3 years of bottle aging. So that's a significantly longer period of time than obviously the Reserva. That's why it has that designation. So here you see the stamp that classifies this as a Gran Reserva, and that this bottle is a cosecha, and this is a 1996 bottle. So I'm always struck by going to tastings of Rioja, and you're poured wine, and you forget that this is the only place in the world that releases wines in this period of time and in these particular designations. And that is really just so unique in the wine world. There's no other place in the world that does this. So for me, that's an amazing testimony to, first of all, you have to hold back all these wines for that period of time. That's why they're a little more expensive, is that between the planting and the growing and finally the vinification and the bottling and exportation, and when it gets to your shelf, that's a long time commitment that the producer has held back and has had no income from. So when you think about it that way, that's a pretty amazing thing. So I'm going to talk about each of these wines in a subsequent video. But if you get a chance to go to Rioja, it's one of my favorite regions in the entire world. It's the only place where you're going to find some of the best wine, the best food, and best hospitality. For more reviews, please go to jamesthewineguy.com. You can see a picture of me in España, in Rioja, at jamesthewineguy.com. And please write to me. I'd love to know more about your thoughts about wines from Rioja. James@jamesthewineguy.com. And videos on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm on Twitter. Salud.